Welcome back. It's been ages since we've done one of these. And Derek's paused.
You broke up there for me for a
bit. I said it's been a while since we've done one of these.
It has been a while, and clearly, like, we're starting off with some technical difficulties. Or I am, rather. You're fine.
Let's see how long that lasts. Yeah, so I thought since it's been a while, let's just do a casual one. Hey, there's trouble. And there goes Derek. Ooh. This could be an awkward conversation.
Okay.
Did that improve? I don't know.
I think so. I hope so. So, yeah, boring story. But with the kids in virtual school and us both working from home, all of a sudden our internet has been terrible. So anyway, it was accidentally connecting to like a little extender I bought, and now I think we're good to go.
Okay.
It's on the real thing. So sorry about that.
Well, since it's been a while, I thought we'd just do a catch-up type video, talk about August. It's been a big month for translations, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. It's been... How long has Women in Translation Month been going on?
I think it's 5 or 6 years now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's been 3 years since I started to pay attention to it. You know, I don't like adhere to it like I should. Like, I just read what I'm going to read. But it really brings a lot of attention just to translation in general to a broader community that doesn't seem to typically pay attention to it. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see people actually reading books that I like to read.
Yeah. Now, do you only read women in August? Do you try to?
I try to, yeah. When I first started, I think I started doing it about 4 years ago. And I think last year was the first year where I decided it was all I was going to do for August.
I think I should probably do that next year, because what I've ended up doing is probably buying more books because other people have been talking about them and I'm interested in them.
Yeah.
So like now for me, it's going to be like Women in Translation September, probably, as they all arrive. But yeah, I think I should do that. For me, I ended up, of the books I read, 3 of them were by women in August, Women in Translation. They were all in translation, but 3 by women. And then the one that I talked about just a minute before we went on, I'll finish later tonight, which will be 4. So, I mean, that's decent.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than most people have read.
That's more than most people in the world read in an entire year, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
So, where do you want to start?
Where do you want to start?
Do you want to start with the Booker, or do you want to start with what we've been reading on the Women in Translation?
Do you know who won the Booker?
I do know who won the Booker. Do you know?
Yeah, go on, tell us.
Okay. Am I going to get the title wrong? Is it The Disquiet of Evening?
Yeah, The Discomfort of Evening.
Discomfort of Evening. Yes, and I do know, so it's Marieke Lucas Rijneveld.
Mm-hmm.
and the pronouns are they, them. I do know that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was careful to note that. And I got to say, this was the one I was the least interested in on the entire short list because it looks like a traumatic experience, or looks like it's going to be a traumatic experience to read it.
It will be.
You are much more into that. Like that seems like up your alley if there's suffering aboard.
Yeah, I like to see other people suffer.
Well, I'm really surprised. I mean, I think this was an upset. Just I don't know why I had really had hurricane season. I thought in the lead just based on buzz and
yeah.
I don't know, like the fact that it was a debut where, and I'm sure we mentioned this when we talked about the podcast, but a debut where both Fitzcarraldo and New Directions are putting it out, two of the huge lights, you know. I for some reason I really thought that was going to be the winner, and then the other one was Till towards the end. A lot of people seemed to be talking about building up, and I thought, okay, maybe this. Anyway, I honestly didn't even think of the discomfort of evening. And when I had first read the description of it, it has not come out here, I should say. It comes out in Grey Wolf Press here in America, like maybe next month or something. And I'm sure they are just thrilled, as they should be.
Yeah.
But when I first read it, I thought, like, God, I don't know if I do this. You know, like it looks really intense.
It is.
So was probably.
I've read the entire shortlist. I did attempt to read the whole long list.
I didn't know you had finished the short list. Okay, all right. So
yeah, I did.
All right. So you finished the short list. Do you stand by before? I know at some point you thought hurricane season. Did you still think it was the best of the five for you personally?
Yeah, I think that would have been my pick to win.
Was there any on the short list that you really didn't like? Like just they weren't for you?
The discomfort of evening.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't my type of book.
Okay.
I think it was just too slow and too detailed. Okay. Like I don't like when books describe everything. I don't need to be painted every detail of everything that's happening around the farm.
You know, something interesting I've found is that the more that I've started to talk about books, like through BookTube and Twitter and stuff, and the less I'm able to describe what it is I like and don't like about a book. You know, like what you just said about like not wanting everything described. I thought hurricane season did that. I mean, there was like graphic detail.
There was, but it wasn't describing how every pig or how every animal on the farm was reacting and how everything looked and everything like that.
Okay, all right. So the entire world building.
I mean, I felt like it was. Yeah. It made it a bit slow moving, like we're stuck in the same scene forever.
So why do you think it won?
Probably because some people like that kind of detail. Some people like the world building. It is very dark. It's very family orientated. It like definitely looking at the family, and there is an apocalypse happening at the same time. So it has an interesting concept. It just wasn't for me.
You know, I think it's interesting that so this year the judges like were really impressive for Booker as far as who they were. But it's interesting that as I've looked back at short list, long list, and the winner, I very rarely agree with the winner, but I always seem to like the short list, you know, and I don't know why that is, but it seems to be the case with the Booker sometimes. Yeah.
Well, Dan thought the Memory Police should win. If you read in the comments, and that's probably the other one I didn't like.
I didn't like it either. I'm wondering if that is. Oh, well, now Dan does say it's the only shortlisted book I read, therefore it should have won.
Yeah.
Now Dan needs to run out and rush. So Dan does Weird Book Club. hurricane season is made for that. I mean, he would do an incredible review of that, like of the violence and some of the gender normative things going on there. That would be really cool to see. I didn't like the Memory Police.
No. I really like Yoko Ogawa, but I feel like that book was a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it actually reminds me. I really like Samantha Schleiblen, but like I didn't love Little Eyes this year. One I was really excited about. Where she just had stronger work and almost the same thing. Where really cool concept, like the blurb and back cover sells you, but then it's not totally executed on as a full work. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of a collection of scenarios around the concept. So I think of those two for some reason together. I think because they're two contemporary women in translation. I really like that their latest was celebrated and was not my favorite.
Yeah, and Dan, you're wrong about that Memory Police being better than Revenge.
No, I just can't.
Codex Cantina did a really good analysis on Memory Police. If you've checked out their channel,
you sent that to me. I did listen to one, although not that one. I really like this idea though of them doing like textual analysis. That is what I'd love to see more of on BookTube. It's really hard to do it individually. I think I've told you that before. Like I think it's hard to do individually. That doesn't mean that it couldn't be done by someone, but I think that having the two people like really helps because you can bounce those things off.
Yeah.
But I'll have to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they seem to have a good channel set up there, and it looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. It's so the opposite of my channel.
Yeah, true.
Well, okay, so that's the Booker. Was the other names Septology on the short list or no?
No, that's one of the books I haven't read yet from the long list.
So Fitzcarraldo, I don't know if you saw this, but they had like a 40% thing today, or maybe all month. And so I took the opportunity to grab a couple that I should have and want to have, and I got that one, and I'm pretty excited. I've never read John Fosse before, and so I'm pretty excited to read that. And then I got an Alejandro Jambro nonfiction because it's just literary criticism, and I figure I should learn something.
Read more.
Yeah, exactly.
You could get some ideas from it.
Yeah, exactly. Like learn how to do it, maybe. Like that'll be the first step.
That would be a good skill to learn. I'd like to learn that.
So, okay, that's the Booker then. So Till, did you like Till?
I didn't like Till as much as most people.
So but beyond the epilogue, she loved it, right? I mean, she was kind of rooting for it there. Okay.
I just think I'm just not that into fantasy. And it's not like full fantasy, it's just fantasy light, but I just don't like that kind of stuff.
I'm so far removed from fantasy that I don't even know if I've read a fantasy light book. Like when you said fantasy, I thought about Tentacle, and then I was like, that's probably science fiction light. Do you know what I mean? I've just never, ever read any fantasy. I've never seen one episode of the Game of Thrones. Like I just have no concept. And I know that's a weak spot or whatever in my reading, but I just never got into it.
Yeah. I guess you could probably call it sort of like magical realism, where there's the world with a little bit of magic in it.
Okay. I thought we were done with that. I thought we had killed that, but
no.
We're going to keep doing it.
Did you know you read a lot of South American stuff. You should know there's heaps of it out there.
There is. Yeah. It still exists. I think a lot about why it flourished and continues to flourish so well in like dictatorships in particular, and I think about like the sort of imaginations that children have to get through traumatic situations. And then like, what if your political life, and I'm saying what if, because now this is like
reality.
Yeah. It's reality for Americans, is so traumatic. Like my 8-year-old son or 9-year-old son now is going to have such a different like sort of political childhood than me. And I think so much, like even thinking about the pandemic, right? Like doing virtual school and learning, his imagination, I think, will filter in a very different way. And I wonder if that gave rise to some of the magical realism, or if I'm just talking out of my, and I need to learn how to do literary criticism.
I know where you grew up, so it's probably good that he's not going to have that childhood.
Yeah.
Although he might swing to the right.
Oh no, it can't happen. No, it can't happen. We disown in this family for that. All right, so
did you? I don't know if you looked at the other ones on the short list.
No, I don't have. What am I missing?
The Adventures of Cheetah Iron
from
Argentina.
Okay, yeah, I'm missing the other one I read. Yeah, that was really good. I still don't think. I think I've said before that I compare presses sometimes to like indie record labels, and Charco Press to me is the coolest, hippest indie record label. Like, and I know that I do have a soft spot for Latin American fiction, and that's all they put out. But man, they like find hit after hit after hit. So the Adventures of Cheetah Iron, not nearly to me a top 10 in their catalog. And if I was looking at last year's releases, I would not have. If I was going to say, okay, I'll nominate this one for a Booker, it would not have been that one. My best title of the year last year in my roundup was one of theirs, An Orphan World by Giuseppe Caputo, translated by Sophie Hughes. And I mean, that one was incredible and had magical realism. But the Adventures of Cheetah Iron, very, very good. I think I would have liked it a little more had I known the original mythology backstory better, because clearly that's what it played off of, But it was good. It was like a fun romp adventure. Did not feel like an award book, and I mean that kind of in a positive way. It was a little more fun than you're typically used to reading in like, an award-winning book.
And I think the last one that we haven't mentioned is the Green Gage Tree. I forget the full name of it.
The Enlightenment of the Green Gage Tree. And that's one you had read several years ago, right? Because it came out there.
It came out a few years ago, but I did read it recently.
Oh, you did? Okay. So did you like it?
I did. It's interesting because my edition names the translator.
Yeah.
But the new edition doesn't. So we won't name the translator for that.
I think I said before that I have a cynical thought about that could be some marketing. But whatever the reason.
It could be.
Could be.
It could be the fact that they may live in America and don't want to be deported.
Oh, I thought they lived in Australia. Okay, so the author lives in Australia.
The author lives in Australia.
The translator does not. Okay.
I do not know where the translator lives now, but I thought maybe it was named anonymous because...
that's not a bad...
Worry.
Yeah, you're only allowed to get citizenship here now if you do it at the Republican National Convention, in front.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they do not, they don't allow it. So yeah, maybe that was a smart decision.
That's just my speculation. I don't know why they decided to keep
it. But you liked it. That's good. That was one. I mean, that was another one that I remember just kind of passing over as, okay, not for me.
Yeah. And that was translated from the Farsi. So
that's cool. I mean, that adds another, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever read anything translated from the Farsi.
Yeah. I think that's all of them that we've gone through. Yeah. From the shortlist, that is.
Yeah.
Was there anything on the long list that you liked? Or
let's see. So the long list, I'm looking at right now to see if there's anything that I didn't. You know what comes up when I do the long list is
the other Booker.
Oh my God.
That long list is terrible.
It's terrible. Okay.
Not because it's not because I don't read those books anymore. It's just I did not enjoy it at all.
It's just uninteresting. Like anyway, all right. So I've got the right one now. And Nah, there's nothing else really. I think we had kind of talked about. We kind of
You
talked
don't
about
want to
once.
talk about Wellback?
No, I don't want to talk about Wallback. I wasn't interested in Red Dog, and I think that one might have been like another 600-page brick or something. Like, let's see. The Other Name we talked about. I got that, so I'm obviously interested. The Eighth Life, again, it's a brick. I mean, you're putting up 2 weeks of your reading life for like right now. I have, and actually, since Dan's listening, he'll know. Me and him were going to do at some point a joint review of what is the Vengeance book called? Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash.
That's a great book.
That book, okay. And I actually went ahead and started. I'm 3/4 of the way in it, so I'm cheating with my like reading more than one thing at a time now, and it is a lot of fun. He has another book though, a huge brick of a book that is like the history of Indonesia, both kind of real and fantasy or whatever. And I own it and I look at it every now and then when it's like time to like decide to read something. And honestly, it's really hard with those kind of brick of a books. Like I have to really, really want to do it. I just finished The Long Ships. Like I just did one, you know, and so anyway, The Eighth Life, it's too much. Serotonin, I know you read it. I really liked your review because you touched on those issues. I'm not interested in Woolback. And then
what about Mac and His Problems? I think you reviewed that.
I mean, I read that and I like it a lot. But Mac and His Problems, just like all of Via Matis and I've talked about before, I mean, I think that it's for people who are literature sick, you know, that want to read something that is really, you know, based in this world that we like, right? But like I would never, like, my wife's a huge reader, reads as much as me, but she just different taste. I would never recommend a Via Matis, you know what I mean? And there's many, I mean, my friends that are readers, like I wouldn't recommend because you kind of have to like want to geek out on either writing itself or reading. Mac and His Problem, I love that main character and I like sort of the coincidences that happened with the writer that he kind of knew and lived near, and then him sort of taking over a bit of that consciousness or at least his narrative throughout. Those were interesting, cool tricks done, but I just have never, I don't think that, I think he writes the same type of novel so much that it's hard to think of him as even on a short list for this. He's the type of guy who I think at a certain point will win a bigger kind of lifetime type award. You know what I mean? Because what matters. Yeah, I mean, that would. I think it'd be a weird Nobel only because he doesn't write outside of about writing. But I guess what's his name? Hankey won this year. So, I mean.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah. I guess there's not really a qualification. I thought the point was there was supposed to be something like of societal importance. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure the exact.
I'm not either.
Reasoning.
Like, Tokarczuk's like definitely like hits that, but the other one does not. So yeah, Mac and His Problem, and then I had no interest in Faces on the Tip of My Tongue.
I read that one, and my problem with that is it's 120 pages, where the French version's about 300 pages.
I remember that now. I remember that. That's yeah. You didn't like. Yeah, you did not get over that well.
I don't like a bridge. I want the full story.
I used to go to my grandmother's house, and all she had were the Reader's Digest. You know what I mean? Like abridged Huck Finn. Why do you need to abridge Huck Finn? Like he goes down the river. Doesn't even take that long.
Well, at least it'll be a short trip.
Yeah, that's it. And then, of course, Little Oz, which we kind of talked about. So
yeah. I'm disappointed Samantha Swebler gets all the attention from Argentina.
Well, I mean, Harwitz was on a long list, right?
Yeah, she's amazing.
So I feel like she gets some. It's weird here in America. Like Samantha Schweblin is on a major Big Five publisher, and for a woman in translation, that's a huge deal. And it's right. I mean, she's very good, but Harwitz has not even been picked up here. I mean, Charco just has the rights, and then it extended out to here. But the way it works is like before Charco got a distribution deal here, some of their books did have American rights. So like Grey Wolf Press, for instance, put out The Wind That Lays Waste by Selva Amata.
Yeah.
I thought it was telling that like no American publisher stepped up and said, "Oh, we'd like, this title," or maybe it was too expensive to get Die My Love, but it doesn't seem like it anyway.
No. Not even Eleanor Ferrante has a Big Five publishing deal.
No, she doesn't. Yeah,
she's
on Europa. Yeah.
And she's probably the biggest name out there.
Yeah, here in America, as far as translated literature, the past 5 years, Narsgaard and outside of Danish crime thrillers, that's forget about that.
No, Joe Nesbo.
Yeah, but Narsgaard and Ferrante, I think those are the two. That are the biggest. Is it the same there? Would you say?
It is.
Okay, and
Everyone talks about them.
I've never read any of them.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
You call yourself a book critic.
It's not. My wife read the Ferrante for me. Told me it was fine to skip that, and so I
Which one, though?
My Brilliant Friend, just the first, first one in the little series there. I don't know why I'm not. I don't know. The books we don't.
Okay.
The books we don't choose sometimes tell something a different type of story about us that we don't want to.
I think she's worth checking out. Maybe some of her shorter stuff.
And there are some readers like I don't know if you follow Ron Restrepo on Twitter. He's a tremendous reader. He's in the Houston, Texas area, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, okay, so I think he like started one and then ended up pulling through the whole series. Loved it. So that was and there's Dan saying she's legit. Okay, I mean, what really kills me are those covers. Like I'm like, those are some of the worst covers to me, and I'm not trying to like bash Europa like that's great, but like the covers really do look to me like romance novels, and so I've just kind of like overlooked them or been a little snooty about it rather.
Well, you should see the Australian covers.
Even worse?
No, better.
Oh, okay, even better.
They're black. I think the second book is definitely the best out of that series.
Okay.
Because it's her life. Like the second one is like a teenage, her young adult, her young early 20s type era, and I think that's more interesting because she's like discovering a lot about herself and discovering her sexuality and all that kind of stuff. It's more interesting to read than the first one.
I have another thing that's a less judgy reason, but sometimes I'm intimidated when things have that much to them. When you know that once I crack this first one, there's this like huge journey ahead of me. You know what I mean? And I think that just comes from the anxiety that a lot of us readers feel about trying to get to everything, because you're like, well, if I get on a Ferrante kick, that'll last forever. I mean, it's kind of like what I was saying about like The Eighth Life or something, you have to accept at some point that you're not going to read everything. And so then some of the snap judgments you make about why you're not going to read it, you just have to let it happen, I think.
I don't know how long you followed my channel. There was a time where I decided that I was going to do a project for 5,000 books because that's pretty much all you'd read in your lifetime if you read like 100 books a year. It's like trying to make sure I pick the best books possible.
Mm-hmm. There's no way.
It's too hard.
It's too hard. And there's too much existential dread then with every pick that you would make.
Come on, we love existential dread on this channel.
That's true.
That's why we follow Dan.
Dan gives us the high strangeness. Yes, that's it for the Booker. I do have some women in translation titles I want to talk about. One of which I think we both read this month.
You've
I
read?
really want to talk about it.
Okay.
All right.
What's that?
Book of Anna.
Never heard of it.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
yeah. No, I did read it.
So I haven't done my review yet. That's why I'm excited to talk about this, and I haven't talked about it. First off, speaking of the opposite of bad covers, this cover is amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So Carmen Bulsa, translated by Samantha Schnee, who might have been the Little Eyes translator as well. Now that I just
Megan McDowell, isn't it?
Oh, is Megan? Oh, okay. Is she?
I think
That's like the biggest translator in the. Okay.
No, she's the best.
Yeah, that's like. All right. So anyway, the Book of Anna. So I thought this was incredible. Like nothing like I expected.
It was very strange.
And I read one of her other books, okay, Texas the Great Theft, which is really good and like sort of more historical fiction fun.
Yeah.
You know, so some elements of like, okay, she's got a type of writing that she likes. But this read like a Russian novelist wrote it. That's what I thought was so.
You think?
I really do. Yeah. I mean, well, not every section, but the sections around like when there's lots of crowds going on and Garpona, whatever, is speaking, like I felt like I was in the middle of a Russian novel. And I thought it was incredible.
Yeah. I think I need to reread it. Probably read Anna Karenina and then read it straight after just to compare it. Because there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, so I thought about that a lot as I read it. I know I missed a ton, but I don't have a desire to. I think I told you I listened to Anna Karenina years ago. I don't have a desire to reread Anna Karenina. So I wanted to engage with this as like here is a book, a meta text involving one of the most famous global books in the world, but a very old one. And how would she, as in Carmen Bulsa, like tackle that? Like, what is there to say now? And I have some thoughts about what she did, but I'll say that the only part I disliked was Anna's actual book. So the section that is her like opium dream book, I didn't like. But I don't know
if you weren't on opium. That's the problem.
It wasn't an opium. But I mean, maybe I was not supposed to. Like, was the writing supposed to be kind of like not as good?
I think it was meant to like throw you off with the opium trip she was on. Yeah,
I think so. Well, I liked some of the political stuff a lot, and I thought it was good. Now, I did not. I don't know why, but lockdown, I've been listening to less podcasts. So I have 2 more to go on the 2-month review. I have not listened to the finale or the one right before that. So it'll be interesting to hear that and hear what they say. And based on that, I'll decide whether or not I'm going to review it, because I'm honestly not sure how much I have to say about it, considering I don't have an immediate grasp of Anna Karenina. And that feels kind of important.
Well, those 2 episodes are probably the best because you got the translator and the author on.
Right, yeah. And I'm excited for that. I've kind of saved them, and I'm going to listen to that and then see, okay, was there anything here that I want to touch on, you know, that wasn't or whatever. But the writing was incredible to me, and of course that means the translating as well. With the exception of the part that I wasn't sure if I was supposed to even like, you know what I mean? But the whole idea of them being characters, like, I've read a lot of metafiction, and you have too. I mean, the idea that they're characters from a book, but then they're real, but know that they're characters, that was really creative. I mean, that was pretty new.
It's weird having, like, Tolstoy show up in the book.
Yeah, that was great. Like, when he showed up, I was like, this is tremendous. And he was just as cranky as you would, like, imagine Tolstoy in your head to be, you know? Like, oh, very good. It's very good. All right, I want to hear you talk about So is the
Oh no,
1982 book the book that you liked the most that you read during Women in Translation Month so far?
Kim Jong, born 1982. Yeah, definitely, probably my highlight. And so many people I see hating that book,
Yeah. That's my
which
birthday.
is
I have to buy it. I have to.
it's interesting because the people that are hating the book are women complaining that they've lived this life. They
Okay.
don't need to read about it, which is fair enough. And I think that's what made the book interesting is we're exploring this woman's life throughout the, well, like from her childhood to falling in love and getting married and having a child. And just looking at the everyday sexism that she has to deal with.
Okay.
I know South Korea has a very high unemployment rate for women. They're like probably one of the lowest in the world, but it's not South Korea. It's pretty much everywhere where these women just suffer that kind of sexism all the time. And that's what I liked about it. That's what I found interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in it. B Book and Me was a South Korean book that I read this year that I loved.
Ooh.
It dealt with sexism from more of a violent standpoint, it sounds like, than
Yeah.
the one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
this is just like everyday things like not getting a job because she's a woman, or just the schoolyard bullying from boys who apparently are interested in her. You know how little boys are, they'll pick on the
Yeah.
one they're interested in and stuff like that.
Well, Dan just brought up Breast and Eggs, which is
I just finished it.
good. All right, what'd you think? Because this is a very controversial book from what I've seen. Like,
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much as Kim Jong. But it has a lot of similarities. It's exploring this woman who wants to have a child, but she doesn't like sex. There's a whole lot going on in there worth talking about, and Dan should do a review on it.
okay, he should. I just noticed Chris. Chris is actually one of the people that I know has said did not like it. I've also heard
I did saw that.
I've also heard it compared negatively to like Murakami type fiction, which is odd because she's a woman, and most of my complaints, in fact, all of my complaints about Murakami, besides sometimes being boring, would be his sexism. And I think the writer of this has like specifically called him out. So that's a weird comparison I've seen.
I think the comparison is that contemporary Japanese literature is fairly much.
Yeah.
That's like the template he's kind of cornered the market there with his writing. So but she can write women, which is a big difference.
Yeah, right. They're not just like a two-dimensional thing that you can project whatever it is your next surreal scene is, which Murakami. Okay. I reviewed this, but Minor Detail was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
from this month.
I really need that.
I think it's Fitzcarraldo for you guys, right?
Ooh, okay. I think so.
So what was interesting about reading this is it is exactly in half, and so it's two-part story, one happening in the 1940s during the initial settlement and then present day. And initially in Arabic, she was trying to use the exact same number of characters. And I don't think she quite got there, but she got the same pages. And then the English translator was able to do the same pages, but not the same amount of letters. Well, anyway, I was about halfway through the first part, and this is like a 105 page book, short book. So I'm like 25 pages in, and I didn't like it. Like, I just like didn't feel it all. And it's because you were in this psychopath's head. And I know you like suffer.
You like psychos?
Oh my God, this guy. It was such like a banal, evil it was a lack of self-awareness of his own evil,
Mm,
just like turned me off, and like I couldn't put my finger on it until about, again, halfway through that first part, when we get an actual action take place. You know how you were mentioning earlier you don't like everything described? The first 25 pages of this, everything that this guy
yeah.
feels from the moment he wakes up until a routine, like, walk around, whatever these army people call it, when they go, like,
Mm,
check around the base and make sure there are no dissidents. Everything is described in such detail, and then all of a sudden it clicks why, and then of course it's called minor detail, and
yeah.
like, everything comes together. And then the second half, I could have followed that character for 400 pages. It was so good. And a really complicated book to review because of the political stuff around it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, is Palestine Israel like a huge political hot topic in Australia?
I think it's a hot topic all around the
Okay.
world.
All right. I don't know. It's a huge one here, and
Yeah.
we're very obviously pro Israel, particularly this administration, but throughout really, and it was, and so, okay, just to be frank, so sometimes if you take like a stance of, Palestine should be its own state or something like that, like, then there can be charges of anti-Semitism when that's not at all
Ooh,
mean.
yeah.
And so it's really hard to discuss books like that. Another woman in translation from earlier this year I reviewed, The Teacher, was writing. She is Israeli, and it was easier to discuss that work because she herself was using Palestine as the name of it. Do you know what I mean? But like, coming
Yeah.
from a Palestinian author, like, it was just hard to, like, I think I cut out 8 to 10 minutes of that review of me going on a little mini rant that was pro-Palestine, because I was like, I don't want this to be seen as like anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? But it's just such an emotional, that's probably the most emotional review I've ever done.
We want all the rants.
That one is like third rail, man. Because, like, what if it's just taken the wrong way? Like,
Ooh,
I do them, like, I like have a little note, and then I just like start talking. I
yeah.
think that is the one I've cut out the most from, honestly. Like, other than like a total bail where I was just like, okay, I actually had nothing to say about this book. But that's probably the one I cut the most out, because I got so upset about the violence in it that I ended up just like really a political rant that was probably unnecessary.
Don't cut that out.
Okay, well, I did.
It's all right if you get cancelled.
I want to get canceled for my writing, not for my reading, not for my review.
I'm sure we will cancel you when we read your stuff.
All right. Anything else from Women in Translation Month?
I read Tender is the Flesh. I don't know if you know about this book.
I feel like I've seen the cover. Is it like kind of got like a little explosion on the front?
Yeah.
No color. Okay, I recognize the cover in my head. Tell me about this.
It's by Augustine Baterzica. I can't pronounce that name. Translated by Sarah Moses. It's an Argentinian book where basically what happens is all the animals get sick and diseased. So they start making special meat for people to eat, which ends up being humans. Yeah, Soylent Green stuff.
Okay.
It's, because no one wants to go vegan, they have to have meat.
That's interesting in the context of the Samantha Schweblin conversation we were having earlier, because Little Eyes definitely touches on that sort of like ecological contamination aspect.
Yeah.
And then like country, like, that's interesting.
It goes into some pretty graphic details on how they
boil the flesh.
Well, yeah, like how, basically what slaughterhouse, how slaughterhouses are run, and all that kind of stuff.
When I was a kid, there was a movie called Alive. Do you remember this?
I don't know.
Okay. All I remember is the trailer. I was too young to be able to go to watch it. But in the trailer, a plane crashes somewhere in the snow. And I remember that the trailer alluded to, and the movie turned out to be about a real story where the people like ate the other people to stay alive. And that was the thing. Well, anyway, this thing gave me nightmares for years and years and years, despite the fact that I've only ever seen a trailer. So I don't know if I want to read about the eating of the human flesh. I don't know.
While eating a steak.
Yeah. I think Silence of the Lambs might have been enough. So was there a bigger, like, what were the themes? Ecological, like same kind of idea? Like,
yeah, like just the mass consumption of animal products is basically what they're looking at, and how we don't put value on the animals. We just slaughter them and eat them.
yeah.
And there are some aspects where old people are put into nursing homes that offer protection so they don't get taken and slaughtered.
Okay. Well, that's kind of all right.
It's a weird book, but it's definitely interesting to explore and read. It's a short one, so it wouldn't take you long to read.
Okay. I'm going to talk about one I didn't read this month, but 4x4 by Sarah Mesa here.
Yeah, I need to read that.
It's probably my favorite woman in translation book I've read this year. Translated by Katie Whitmore. This is an open letter, and I think you've said before that that's tricky in Australia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Just have you read Out? Because it's a good book to learn about disposing of human bodies.
No. No.
There's a book to read.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's not eating them, but, killing off a body, butchering them up.
A little body farm.
Yeah, butchering them up and just disposing of them in different trash cans.
Okay.
The stuff you would do to a man.
So 4x4 was also bodies, but they are using them for the sexual type of thing, not the eating. No, not wholesome. Not at all wholesome. But
killing men is wholesome. Ridding the world.
Speaking of, also, I just got this. I haven't started yet, but Selva Almada's new one.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, kind of nonfiction stories about 3 murders in Argentina of young women. There's a
the man did it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I'm guessing I'm going to tell you this. I haven't even cracked it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. It's going to be 3 guys that have murdered the 3 separate women. That's what we're going to do here.
Absolutely.
I think I could be an FBI profiler. You know what I mean? Like oh my God.
But are you just going to arrest every man you see?
Yeah, you just should. I mean, like, at this point, it's just, yeah. All right. Any others this month?
And the Birds Rain Down, which is a French-Canadian book.
So in French, like Quebecois French?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I won't talk about that one because people should watch or listen to the podcast.
Yes. I think that's smart. Well, I started off talking before we got on here about I'm addicted to Dasa Drendick right now. And
she is great.
I was trying to rush to finish this before, but I didn't quite make it. I have about 20 pages left.
I've only read Belladonna, so I need to read more.
And this is why I like that TBA award because that list is so big, and then I probably would not have even have read EEG if it hadn't won, because then I'm like, okay, it beat some books that were really good. I read it this year. As of right now, it's my favorite book that I've read this year. But it wasn't even a book or a novel, really. It's so hard to like. So you've read Belladonna, is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right,
it's
so
really good.
Cool. So I'm guessing Belladonna has a similar structure where, like, sort of there's a plot, but mostly it's like real factual stuff just being like recounted.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
horrors of dictatorship and fascism. So right up my alley. And anyway, the Doppelganger is interesting because it's much more of a novel. I mean, it's still like weirdness. Yeah, we
Sorry.
yeah,
I need to read Doppelganger now.
Dan is mentioning some of the weirdness. There is some rhino mutilation. There's also some creepy, very old people, like 79, 71 mutual masturbation stuff. That is
hot.
That is really hot in the first 12 pages. But her writing, and then the translator, I guess Celia Hawksworth, I think has been on all of them, or all the ones we have here.
Ooh.
It's so like smart, funny, but like aggressive in a really, really pleasing way. I remember when I was reading EEG, like she like wouldn't stop showing you the horrors over and over and over again, just like pounding you with them. And I'm wondering, and I'm guessing Belladonna is the same way since it's the same character and stuff. But anyway, it's interesting reading Doppelganger because, like I said, more of a novel. It's still touching on some of those like fascist themes so far. Yeah, the first line right there, best opening ever, is, "Oh, he shat himself." I mean, that's tremendous. So yeah, I'm gonna go on a kick. I ordered Belladonna, and then I also ordered Trist, or however you said that, Trist, Sad in French. That's from my 127-day Duolingo streak. Is I'm able to say that Trist, I think, means sad in French. So I ordered those two, which I think are the last of the novels. And I made that comment on Twitter the other day that if we could do a Bolano like finding in the drawers just 100 novels of hers, I would be super excited, because I have not been this obsessed with a writer, probably an individual writer, since Bolano, and it always seems to happen to me like within 3 years of their death. You know what I mean? All of a sudden,
I was going to say you're a couple of years too late.
I am. I totally am, and I am usually, right, because there's just so much. I try to balance, like this month, I read that Zweig, I read Robert Walser for the first time, and then that Blood Dark. Those are all like early 19th century European stuff, and even the review I did today, it's a new book, like, in translation, but it was written in 1924, so I'm always trying to balance those two things. And because of that, like, sometimes I feel like I miss out on the contemporary ones. Like I mentioned, not having read John Fosse, and I think a lot of people would consider him one of the like 10 best writers going today, and I've just missed it.
Everyone's 10 best writers is different.
Well, that's true. Who's the best writer? Who's your best writer working today, then? That you
working today? I would say Mariana Enriquez, but she's only got one book translated. And you should read it, and I'll continue to recommend it every time.
All right.
You know that one?
I do, yeah. I will read it.
That one blew me away, but I think that one kind of got me addicted to reading translations as well. So
yeah, those are special. I mean, that's why Bolano is my favorite writer working today, because I'm going to consider that he is working today.
Because he's still releasing books. Yeah.
What's interesting too is there's a total curve of quality as well. Like we're getting deeper and deeper into the drawer now, where there's like parts I definitely don't think he would have liked you to find, and then now we're like piecing them together to be like, well, we can sell 20,000 of these, right?
Yes.
Can you judge best author from only one book? Man, that's such a good question. I think yes. Okay.
Well, I've only read one Mary Shelley book, but that got me into reading. So.
Okay, so I was going to say something similar, which is like, let me think of an example. Maybe like Hard Rain, Don Carpenter. Or what about the ones that we've talked about before? They shoot horses, don't they? I mean, I haven't read a second book of his, right? There's probably not.
I don't even know if I want to read a second book.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, there are reasons not to. I think you can. But like when I think about the question of working today, I do try to think about like, okay, who's got more than one that I've read? The problem is there's only so much reading time, and I don't think that there's, I don't think there's one I can think of that has, let's say, 3 classics that's working today that I have read. Of course, they exist, but like Drendick, it'll probably be 3 years after they're dead, unfortunately, before I am able to know that or whatever. And there are holes, like right now, like I know I kind of bashed Red Dog and said I wasn't interested, and the truth is I'm not that interested, but in that particular book. But I do need to read more books from the African continent. Like, as I'm looking through my reading, it's like just such a huge hole,
Yeah, it is very difficult to find translations and books that you're interested in reading from Africa.
Yeah, it really is. Now, one that I'm hoping to read, I've never read her before, but That Time of Year just came out here from Two Lines Press, I think. Let's see. I want to get her name so that I can. Marie Ninja. I think I'm getting that right. Have you heard of her or read anything of hers?
The name sounds very familiar.
So.
Yes, I have read something from her, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Ladavine?
Do you remember anything about it? Do you remember if you liked it?
No, I don't remember much about it. But I checked Goodreads and I gave it 2 stars. So there you go.
There you go. That's why it's smart to do Goodreads.
But she's French. She's not South.
No. I was thinking of her. I was thinking of her because I looked at the time and I wanted to mention that there was one other I'm hoping to get in for Women in Translation Month. This is supposed to come tomorrow. And Le Chef, which was The Chef, was a big book here. That was the last one, I think. And now this one is That Time of Year. This is the first one I'm going to read. And I'm excited about that because this is like a fairly young author. And there's like
1967.
Yeah, 53. That's not that old.
Yeah. I thought you meant young author, like The Discomfort of Evenings, where they're like 28,
or like Fernando Melchor. She's probably also like 29, maybe like something. Yeah, no, not like that. But I mean, young as in there's a lot of work there and a lot more work to come. So I'm excited about that. That's the last one that I think I'll be able to get in before the end of the month. What are you working on right now as far as what are you reading?
Well, I just finished the book, so I don't know yet.
How do you not?
I do read books. I don't like to plan things. I'll pick whatever I want. It's probably going to be what's that book? Never to the Wild Heart.
All right, I don't know this, so
you don't know Lispector?
Oh, Near to the Wild Heart, Lispector. I don't know this one.
Okay.
No, I do not. All right, so
I
I
thought
have.
that was her most well-known book. I guess there's all that short story collection everyone talks about.
No, so I have read short stories.
And there he goes.
And I loved.
Where's your internet gone? I really need to read 4x4, Chris. I think I've got it somewhere. That and Cars on Fire, I think. Just filling in the time while we wait for Derek.
Oh, you there? Are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my internet made it the whole way until right at the end. So the Lispector that I've read. So I've read the stories, and then her
The
first.
stories seem to be her big. Everyone reads the stories.
Yeah,
right?
I think. I mean, I thought of her firstly, I guess, as a short story writer, but The Hour of the Star. So not the first, the last one. I think that's like her last one, or one of the last ones. So The Hour of the Star is the other one that I read, and I reviewed that one. I own The Chandelier, but I've never read it. And so Clarice Lispector, I found out kind of this year because Benjamin Moser won the Pulitzer Prize for a Susan Sontag biography.
Yeah.
And so I like Susan Sontag, so I was interested in this, and I just I remember Googled it and thinking about it, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy this, and ran across like a huge hit piece on Benjamin Moser. Do you know anything about this?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So this is interesting. So I know it's 11:02. Maybe we'll end it on this. So Benjamin Moser was really responsible here in America with getting New Directions on board with, all right, Clarice Lispector is going to be like, we're going to put out everything and all new translations. Yeah. Okay. And so one of the translators, a woman that was working with him on one of these books, wrote that like he basically took her translation and kind of cut it all up and made it his own and was putting too much of his own voice and take artistically into some of these Lispector works. So there was this huge academic debate apparently about Benjamin Moser and how much he was affecting our, as in here with New Directions, reading of Lispector in these new translations, and was it better to read the old translations? Well, for me, like as a translation geek, I thought that was super interesting. So the next thing that I'm going to do is read the, and I've had this like on my little whiteboard list for a while, but read The Hour of the Star again, and then read that first translation of The Hour of the Star. And I want to do like a side by side, like, okay, what is different, and just mention the art. I mean, the article's written by one translator that worked with him. Maybe they just had a terrible experience, but regardless, I thought it was interesting enough as far as if you're into translations to get a sense of, all right, is he taking some artistic liberties to create the voice of Lispector? Because nowadays he does the intro for all of her work. He is involved either as a co-translator or as an editor in all of her work. And I think his next big project is her autobiography, if it hasn't already been released. So anyway, is your copy translated by him or no? Of what you're reading?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Can I see here?
It is
Entrin. Sorry.
Alison Entrin, yeah.
Yeah. Is that what okay.
That's the one. Yeah. He did write the preface, though.
He did write the preface? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, so it'll be interesting. So I liked the Lispector that I've read. I'm not I don't know if Dan's on here anymore, but I know that when I first posted that review, he had said he was a really, really big fan of her work. I know a few people that are. It is like, what do the kids say today? Like it's a mood. Like she is. It's a mood. It's a moody type of writing, and it is all very internal. So, it's just living in the headspace of a character you know, for however long some of the stories are 8 pages. And then of course the novels are, 120 pages or so. And I like that, but it's not somebody like Drendick I was just talking about who I could go on like a back-to-back spree. So
yeah.
yeah.
So September's going to be your Women in Translation month?
I just have a lot coming. Yeah. I mean, I've got it. I'll have those 2 more Drendicks. I'll probably only read one. I'll probably hold off a little bit. And then I have that time of year, we'll see when it comes, but then definitely I'm going to read the Dead Girls in September. By Selva Almada. You know what? It's probably going to end up being very similar to August and most months, where this year so far, I think I've been at about 50-50, which is the best I've ever done. And I hope to be able to kind of stick to that throughout the year. And maybe next year for August, I'll actually plan out and do a thing. But even though I was just picking on you for not having a queue, I am the same way. Like I have a TBR shelf and it depends on my mood, like when I finish Doppelganger, I am probably going to want to read something more narratively fleshed out. And I've got the new Manchette, on my bookshelf. How am I going to, I'm probably going to pick that up. You know what I mean? Like,
which Manchette?
It's new for here. No Room at the Morgue.
Okay, and I don't have that one.
That is an NYRB that released here last week or something like that. I just got it. And yeah, it's going to be hard to walk past that and not read it. I have similar vibes as we talked about before with like almost like Chandler, where like now if you've got a translation of Manchette, like I want to read it, like right away.
I have a few of his books to read.
And you have not read one yet, right?
I have. I read The Gunman or The Prone Gunman, depending on which translation.
So you've read one that I have not read. That's a fact. Okay. Well,
it wasn't that great. So,
all right. So you haven't read Fatale, which is I think the one everyone that's their favorite. And then I think I've told you 3 to Kills has been my favorite.
I have Nada.
Nada, okay, all right, not as good.
And I have the Ivory Pearl. Is it? What?
I don't have that.
That was like the unfinished book he had.
Yep.
And I have another one. I can't remember what it's called.
I was, I really liked that Ricardo Piglia. Speaking of this, that Target in the Night noir, that Argentinian writer and literary critic, and he had like some notebooks from one of those characters. It's called like the Notebooks of Emilio Renzo. And it's this journalist that is kind of him. And it just goes through a bunch of cases and whatnot. And I went to go order it and didn't realize it's like 3 volumes, total almost 1,000 pages. I was like, okay, never mind. I can't.
So you ordered it?
I did not order. No. I had self-restraint. But anyway, so
you don't like big books?
No, I do love them. I just don't. A 3-volume like with one character. Oh my God! I just finished a big book. I did. I reviewed Blood Dark, and then now I just finished Longship. So I'm ready. If somebody's got a big book I need to put in the queue, I can start to do it. But
Burden Subjects.
I finished that one. I brought that one here.
Yeah.
Did you finish 3?
Yeah, I finished 3. I like book 1.
Me
and
too.
Then it went down from there.
I agree. I actually, I had all those complaints about 2, and now I go back and I gotta say I might have liked 2 better than 3. This thing ran out of steam for me narratively. The raves in 3 were so unbelievable to me as like these warm, welcoming spaces. You know how we were just talking about like the casual sexism stuff? So now we found this like utopia in the French countryside where like none of that exists because he's so good at picking songs. I don't know. There's the aspect of that, and then sort of the way that the real life terrorism was like shoehorned into the plot did not work for me at all. So, really good.
You don't want to join the cult?
No, I had no desire to join the cult. I would have hung out with him like when he was homeless in 1. You know, I would have definitely, he'd be the kind of friend that you'd want to stay at your house for 4 days. And like by day 2, my wife would probably be like, he's got to leave. And I'd be like, just 2 more days, you know? But
I'd like to hang out with him in the record store.
Yeah, that's probably true. But Alex Bleach, I don't want to hang out with him at all. He seemed just like a fake pop star. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but he wouldn't be in the record store too often.
Oh, that's true. He'd have been way too famous for that.
So yeah, I do need to finish the Your Face Tomorrow trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1, I read the first one and it was really good.
It was really good. It also could have stood alone. Why do we need 2 more?
There's 2 more, plus there's the other book, which I think is from the perspective of the woman.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but you're same author.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a lot of pages waiting for you. This is the one thing, I think one time you asked me on a podcast, has BookTube changed any of your reading habits? And I have found that the one thing it's changed is I'm gravitating towards shorter books so that I can do more. And maybe that, exactly, so I can post more. And maybe that is to my detriment. Although I do love novellas. Like if you can tell a story in 140 to 180 pages, I think that's the sweet spot.
You just have to be like Dan and post every couple of months.
Couple of months? Has he posted in 2020? Are we sure?
I don't know.
We need to.
I barely posted in 2020, so I can't complain.
You have a very good excuse. I don't know if Dan.
Dan has an excuse. He's reading books.
Oh well, that's yeah. The only thing better than talking about books is actually reading them. All right. Anything else?
September, there is a BookTube, a read along of Crime and Punishment.
Really? Okay. Who's like?
I can't remember. I cannot tell you. I think Dostoevsky in Space, I think, is one of the people doing it. I don't know if you follow her channel.
I don't, but I can and will. So have you read Crime and Punishment?
Yeah, I love Crime and Punishment. I don't like the translation they've picked, so I'll probably pick a different translation. So I am curious to read.
I don't know enough about that. Have you read multiple translations?
You just had a rant about the
I mean, I don't know enough specifically about the Crime and Punishment translations. Like, is there a big academic fight with him as well?
No, there's just one popular translation that is basically these translators are the equivalent of, for me, the equivalent of Google Translate. It's a husband and wife, and she doesn't speak English very well, so she tries to translate it from the Russian into English, and he cleans it up.
That's weird.
It's a weird technique. I don't like it.
I'm trying to find my version here. I mean, obviously I'm not in.
And then there's always Constant Garnett, who was the old original translator. She tends to not put anything too saucy in her book. She'll skip over that part.
So I've got this Penguin edition.
So that'll be Richard Pevere and I can't remember her name.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, that's the husband and wife translator.
That's interesting. Okay, so there's a better translation out there. Maybe I need to reread Crime and Punishment specifically for this now. Like, you kind of have me intrigued.
There are a couple of different editions that I just don't know what the best edition is.
Yeah.
Like, I've found, because Richard Prevere and his wife, is it Louisa? I can't remember her name. You just looked it up.
I had it up. Yeah.
I think they do a lot of the Russian classics, and
Yep.
I'm just not a big fan of theirs, so I normally pick someone else. I like Hugh Apline, but I don't know if he's done Crime and Punishment. He's a new translator. He does translations for Amana classics.
Is it Pavir and Volonsky?
Volonsky, that's her name, yeah.
Pavir and Polonsky. Okay. I don't get a first name on their thing, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
But anyway,
that's
yeah.
It was just a weird method of translating.
I never knew that. Like, I never knew that was a style. I mean, that's interesting. And I kind of now want to look and see if my other the few Russian classics I have are the same.
Like, for me, that style feels like people praise it for being accurate, but I feel like it loses the beauty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I got really into Die My Love, I watched a really cool thing at Shakespeare and Company, that bookstore in Paris, where Carolina Orloff and Ariana Harwitz were talking about the first translation that they got, and that was sort of, it sounded like the issue it was exact. And since that book is so cinematic and stuff, it's like, well, but you're missing, an English reader is going to need some of their own cues. You know what I mean? And I thought that was interesting. It would be impressive if Dan just said the version on Hoopla I listened to is Anthony Hale. It'd be impressive if it was the translator and the narrator.
Yeah.
Especially if it was contemporaneous, as he was reading the book. Speaking of he, that was one of the other things I saw somebody complain about with that 1982 book. Is it really a male narrator doing the audiobook? That's important.
Oh yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird. That's weird no matter what, always. If you have, and I don't listen to too much, but I used to. In fact, Crime and Punishment is one I've read and listened to. I listened to Moby Dick before I read it. I've listened to quite a few. It is weird if you have a male read a female's book, but I don't know. Especially,
what's better than a man to know how a woman feels, right?
That's true, because a lot of times they get confused, and so
don't finish that sentence.
Okay.
I could just imagine your wife coming out and punching you in the face.
It wouldn't be the first, second, or third time. And I've deserved it every time. All right. Well, this was fun. It was nice to kind of do a catch-up episode after not doing it in a while, but I'd love to do these, again sometime soon, especially if people are into it, and grab some topics.
Yeah. See, Richard Prevere and Volonsky just stuck with that translation, Dan.
If you decide to do Crime and Punishment for that September, I will do it with you, but only if you tell me which translation you're doing so that we can do the same translation.
There's a new translation by Oliver Reddy.
Okay.
I think it is. I think it came out last year. That seemed really I'm really interested in checking out that translation of it.
Okay. I would be into that. It's been 5 years since I last read it, and it's one of the best books ever. Right?
It is a great book, yeah.
I mean, it's like the Bible, So, yeah.
I'd be interested in checking out that translation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can get a hold of a copy of it, but they're doing it over September and October, so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I couldn't e-read a book that large. I did e-read Adventures of China Iron. And Cheetah, sorry. And that was the first book, I think, from beginning to end I had done. Maybe some nonfiction, but nothing like that. And I still found it so hard. And you see, I have no review of it. Like, and part of that is because I just engaged with the text so differently. And I'm not like, I know it's really different because there's stuff that you literally like cannot get, like your hands on. I would have. So for Verne Subtext 3, like I had to go about that in a very backwards way to get it here, because it's like whoever the publisher is here, and I forget who does it for the American ones, but they really don't want you buying this house, whatever. And so the way I got it was like literally underhanded. I would have probably gone ahead and read the ebook version of that. But that was because I was ready to be done with that and not wait. In America, it will be 2022 when that's out.
So apparently that edition of Crime and Punishment is $103.
Wow. Why is...
I will find the ebook version of it.
But why is that there? Like, it's not... Is it the same thing here? All right, I'm going to tell you. So, Crime and Punishment... And who is the translator?
Oliver Ready.
All right, Oliver Ready. There we go. And it is $12.29 with free shipping. Like, what?
Yeah, I think the problem is trying to ship it from America.
But $103, like that's
surely not.
It's not allowed.
I will look.
This is America. I can get it on you can't really see it on the phone. I can get it on Target.
Well, sadly, Target does not.
This is the weird country we live in. No, I'm not preparing. Mary asked if we're comparing hardback. I'm not. I am comparing paperback. So, to be fair, it might be much more expensive in hardback. I never buy hardback.
I hate hardback.
I hate hardback. Avoid it at all costs.
Well, Australia doesn't publish many hardbacks because it's too expensive. So everything comes out in paperback.
The hardbacks here are the types of books that we don't read, right? So the only
America had hardbacks for pretty much every first,
unless
it's an indie press.
Like New Direction is it's New Direction paperbacks. I mean, they do have a few. That Baron von Homecoming is a hardback. So you've got all of the indie presses that we like and stuff. Open Letter, Deep Ellum, all paperbacks. The last hardback I can remember would be that Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. Thank you again. Because that's one of those big four. So the big four do always come out the hardback first and then the paperback. But the issue is they don't do enough translations for it to matter for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it just doesn't usually come about. But like my wife really likes Joyce Carol Oates and Louis Erdrich, and both of those, always come out first.
Did you show her the photo of Joyce Carol Oates' foot?
No, I did not. My wife is
why would you post that?
She's super smart and she does not like super online the way that I am. So no, I did not. I don't know why she would do that. I don't know what. I don't know what it would be like to be that confident. That's the right way.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, maybe we'll do Crime Punishment together. This was fun. Let's come up with some topics for next time, and we'll do it again. My internet will even work.
Maybe.
It's like literally.
Maybe your webcam will work as well.
I know my webcam didn't work either. Literally, the day they started virtual school, we got a call from our internet company and said, "Oh, you guys need to upgrade. Like, you've got too many devices running." We're here where we're at, North Carolina.
What?
Everyone is at home. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, the whole purpose of this was for everyone to have to pay to upgrade. And so now I've been waiting on a box while, like, none of my gaming is working, and I have to, anyway.
What are you playing? Animal Crossing?
I'm not playing Animal Crossing. I'm playing this. My son's got me hooked on this thing called Fall Guys, which is like,
oh yeah, I've seen that.
It's like a game show, and you just play one. You either make it or you don't make it, kind of thing. But it's got like not at all. No, he has, and I watched him win, and I can't even like get past the first thing. And then I play as a stress relief, I play this game called Rocket League. Have you ever played that?
No.
All right, Rocket League is you race cars.
Play soccer.
To play soccer. Yeah, it's stupid. And it is just like a complete stress reliever. But other than that, I don't. My son's the one who plays it, and he is super into sports. So he plays like FIFA and the NBA and stuff. And I tried one time and couldn't even understand the controls. So
yeah,
that's it.
I prefer like RPGs or grand strategy games.
Yeah.
But I don't play much anymore.
See, that's my problem, is that I stopped 15 years ago, probably right around the time that I, got married and like did more interesting things than just was alone playing video games. And now the games are too complicated. So the last thing I tried was I tried to play The Last of Us from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And I even put it on level easy. And it took me so long to where I couldn't really enjoy the story because I was just like having trouble maneuvering in the world. And that just has to do with like it's muscle memory skill. And, I just don't, it's been too long since I've played it. I played Zelda, like that was the game.
Ocarina of Time?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great game.
It was a great game. Yeah. I mean,
the Nintendo 64, eh?
Yep. Nintendo 64 was my system. I mean,
Did you have GoldenEye, obviously?
I had GoldenEye. I loved GoldenEye. Yeah. And then for computer games, like I did play Doom and Hammerstein or whatever it was when those first kind of came out. Like I liked that.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein. Yeah. Hammerstein. Then the furthest I got when the Xbox first came out, they came out with Halo. And I used to play this capture the flag game on Halo that was so much fun. Like you played with people.
Yeah.
In this, like in the same room or whatever, and like you would be on teams to capture flag. That was so much fun, but that was the most complicated, like control wise, that I got to. Then fast forward literally 20 years when like my son's old enough, last Christmas to get a PS4, we bought one. And so I've only had it now for however long, like it's taken a lot to catch up. So Rocket League is the perfect level of like, literally like run car, hit ball. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, or Fall Guys is like just jump.
Yeah. But you're playing Assassin's Creed, Mary, so.
That seems like hard as that's insane.
She just wants to make out with all the women.
All right, I'm going to go.
And everyone watching, join the Discord.
Yes.
It'll be linked below. Agnes has done some work to it to try and revamp it and make it more interesting. So talk about literature, talk about movies, that kind of stuff, if you're interested.
So did she rename it?
I don't know what this... Yeah. She has renamed it.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically the idea was to have a place like a forum to talk about books and movies and stuff like that. So if people are interested in that, if you don't know what Discord is, it's like a modern day version of a forum.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you again, Michael, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.